Okay, so now that we've cut out our jacket in muslin, like the pants, we need to mark a few lines on it, balance lines, so that we make sure that it is laying correctly and fitting correctly, okay? Most important on the jacket, well, there's a few important things on the jacket, is our center front line and our roll line, okay? Our center front line is very important because that's where the jacket is going to overlap itself. Okay, and we have to make sure those line up when we're fitting it to either the form or the fit model, okay? Also, the roll line is very important because we need to make sure that the collar is laying correctly as well, okay? So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our jacket front. Put the aside for a moment. Colors. Now, this is different. Even though it's not asymmetrical, okay, this is symmetrical, we need to mark our center front and our waistline on both sides, okay? Why do we need to do that? Because those are the two intersections that we're lining up when we're pinning this together, okay? So, make sure you've notched everything. Mark all your darts if you haven't. Put some pins in real quick. Also going to mark apex. Flip this around. Now this pin should bleed through both layers, so I should be able just to mark this side and still get everything I need. So I'm marking right all my important tips here. Center this too. Alright, so now, again, make sure that you've notched everything, okay, and you want to notch your center front, the top and bottom of it, and a roll line, both sides of it as well, okay, and make sure your waistline, obviously, is notched. So I'm going to unpin this pattern. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start with notching my waist, or sorry, marking my waist. I'm also going to make sure my darts bled all the way through, and I can see these points. I'm just going to make sure they're all there. That looks good. And down here, make sure these all bled through. Good. Okay, so let's mark our waistline. So again, I like to mark my notches so I can see them better, to better mark them. And there we go. Okay. We need to mark center front. Now we don't want to get our center front mixed up with your roll line. So let's mark, here's one side of the roll line, here's the other side. So let's mark that first. Line. And now center front. So here is one center front side, and here's the other side. My center front. So let's go ahead and mark that. There we go. Alright, like I said, we need to mark both sides. Alright, you don't need to put the roll line on this side unless you want to. I'm going to, since I'm marking everything else. It doesn't hurt to have one more bit of information on there. So here's my waistline. Here's my roll line right here. And here's center front. Okay. So again, both sides have now been marked. And just put this aside for now. Pin it. There. Alright, when marking our muslin here is on the back, we need to mark our waistline. Okay? Also make sure you mark all your dart tips and the intake of your dart as well. And one at the shoulder, if you have one there still. Making sure it's all bled through well enough. Good. Alright, so we want to make sure we get this waistline. So here's one notch of the waistline. Here's the other notch. And we're going to draw that in. And again, on your muslin, you really only need to draw it in on one side. But since I did it on both sides for the front, I'm just going to do it on both sides for the back. And now the back of the jacket has been marked with this balance line and is ready to be stitched. Okay, let's go on to our lapel facing. That will also need to be marked. And what we need to mark on here are our waistline, center front, and roll line. Okay? Again, both sides of this we'll be marking, the left and right side. Make sure everything's notched. Here's my waist. Here's my one side of my roll line there. The other side here. And center front right here. And right here. Okay. So we'll go ahead and mark those. Here's center front. Here's my roll line. And here's the waistline. And again, both sides, all right? Most important, okay, or you must have your waistline and your center front marked on both sides, okay? You don't need to have the roll line marked on both sides, but, I mean, it's just one more line, so it doesn't really hurt to do it. There. Okay, there's our facings, lapel facings or jacket front facing, marked and ready to be stitched. So I'll put that aside for now too. Alright, and now we need to mark our upper and under collar. Okay, what we're marking on here, on these, are just the roll line. Okay, so again, I'm just going to leave this pinned, and I'm putting pins in right along my roll line. And I'll do that to the upper collar as well. Remember, your under collar is 2 separate collar pieces cut on bias. Your upper collar is 1 piece cut on fold, and it's cut on true grain. Alright. I'm actually going to notch this bottom part of my roll line down here. And now I can flip this around and I can mark right where my pins are. Okay, I'm marking right underneath each pin. Okay, because I want to be accurate. And same on this one. Now, if I want to mark both sides, which you do not have to do, but you need to make sure you mark the side that goes into the side that you marked at the roll line. I should be able to see through my muslin well enough. I can just open this up and I can see the lines. I can just mark it like that. You can even eye it enough to draw in. Roll line. So under collar taken care of, and now upper collar, I'll do this as well. There we go. And our back neck facing, you should notch at the bottom and top of it, okay, here and here, so that when you open it up, you'll be able to see 2 notches. Okay, there's one right there, and there's one right there. And since we don't have a seam at center back, I'm going to mark the center back with a red line, connecting those 2 seams. Alright. Again, it's very important to mark these lines because the muslin is what tests our patterns. Right now all these patterns are just lines on a piece of paper. We don't know how well they work. And if we need to make alterations, we need to see how well this lays on the body and that everything's falling where it should be. And also, if we need to go back to our pattern to make alterations, those lines on the muslin are going to be guides of where certain things are. Okay, so I'll know on my waistline on my pattern, if I mark an alteration on my muslin, I can measure it on my muslin, and I'll know I'll need to go in a ½ inch on that waistline, and I can mark it. Okay. Okay, so that is everything for the jacket muslin that needs to be marked before we can sew it. And now that we've marked it, we can go ahead and sew it.